Hi, Mark and Tamil with Think Multifamily. We're here to talk to you today about step 2, building your team with apartment investing. This is step 2 of many more to come, so stay tuned. Mark?
Yeah, so I wrote step 1, and Tammy said it didn't look very good, so she wrote step 2 for you guys, so it's clearer.
I was thinking about y'all.
So first one is education.
Yes. It's very important to get educated about any investment that you do. One way to do that is read books, of course. There are lots and lots of content online, whether it's free or paid, but you have lots of options there with the internet. You can also attend events and meetups. Most meetups tend to be free that provide a great amount of content for you as well. Yeah.
Good. So attorneys next. So with attorneys, you have typically a real estate transaction attorney who kind of does the transaction for you, an SEC attorney who's more making sure you're following the SEC guidelines
right.
When you're going to raise capital. There's nothing to say they can't be the same attorney. We happen to use the same attorney for both transaction and also for SEC. The other thing, people, for whatever reason, think that you have to use an attorney within that state. And they also think you have to set up the LLC in the state you're buying. That's not true.
Okay.
I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving legal advice, but you can talk to an attorney to see that, hey, you can set up a company, LLC in Texas and buy in Georgia, for example, and then create a transfer relationship between the two. So.
And are there reasons why you would want to set up your particular LLC in one state versus another?
Yeah, so for me, I always want to set up in a state that's business friendly.
Okay.
So that favors me as a business owner versus favors tenants or people for slip and falls and things like that. So that's the reason I would do that.
Okay.
Third one is selling broker. So this is someone that's actually listing a property or providing properties for sale.
Right.
The key here is it's not just to get someone's name, right? Selling broker and to get on their list and get information from them. Right. It's a lot more important to build the relationship with them.
Right, and there are different ways that you can build relationships with selling brokers. You can maybe even start off just by calling them, letting them know who you are, what your experience is, and what you're looking for. That would be great. You can also maybe send them a gift, which they would appreciate, and just it helps your name stick out a little bit. You can invite them to lunch or to dinner so they get to know you better, and they will maybe be thinking about you when they find a property that specifically meets your criteria.
Yeah, and I think just real quick on that, we'll talk about it in another step too, but having some sort of relationship with somebody else that knows the broker. So if someone else can introduce you to the broker, that's the best thing you can do. Right.
Yeah, that's key. Perfect.
Due diligence team. So this is, let's say I'm gonna talk about physical due diligence. We go look at 100 units.
Yes.
And I get questioned on a regular basis. People say, should I look at all 100 units? And the answer to me is yes.
Yes.
Look at everything, right? I mean, why would you spend $5-6 million, whatever it is, and not look at every single unit? You could be surprised if you don't do that. And we know people that didn't do that before.
Yeah.
And they've gotten surprised, and it's not good for them, it's not good for the investors. But you want to find a team, and lots of times this could be your property management company that does this for you. They engage contractors. But the key is you want them to look at everything. The roofs, the electrical, the plumbing, the foundation, concrete, interiors, everything.
Right.
If you engage them, you're going to pay them, typically. They're doing work, they should get paid for it. Ask them ahead of time to see a report. Show me the report of a different property that they inspected.
Yes.
Make sure it has pictures in there and descriptions of the issues, but make sure it has quotes to fix stuff. Right? We know people that actually had reports done. They pay $50, $60 per unit, so let's say $5,000, and there are no estimates to fix stuff.
Right.
And it's crazy, right? Unless you know what it costs to fix stuff, that's going to be a problem.
Right.
Insurance brokers. So when you buy multifamily, you're typically going to inherit the sins, if there are any, of the previous owner. So if there was a fire, if there was crime. So don't think just because if you look at it and let's say you say, well, it's $325 per unit per year for insurance, and oh my gosh, you're paying $550, so I'm going to get it lower.
Right.
Maybe not.
Right.
There could be a very valid reason for that. I would say this too: when you engage an insurance broker, don't keep using different ones. What I mean by that, on the same property, don't go to 5 different insurance brokers and ask them all to bid it, because what happens is they get locked out, meaning they can't different brokers can't go to the same providers. So pick someone you know, like, and trust, and use them.
I see. Great.
Property management. Make or break the deal, without
Absolutely.
a doubt, right?
Yes.
So
we've seen it, we've experienced it.
Yeah.
It's very important which property management company you decide to run your asset.
right, and we'll talk more on another step too, some of the questions you want to ask, but generally speaking, high level, you're going to want to know, do they manage similar assets in the same location, and have they done it before, how long they've been doing it, how long they've been in business, those type of things. Okay, so I won't go into a lot of detail on that.
Yeah.
Contractors, they can make or break your rehab.
They can, and we've experienced that personally as well. Yes.
So, as a general rule, I don't know why it took me so long to figure this out in my life, but everything's going to cost more and take more time. General rule, right?
Right.
And so be careful with contractors. A lot of them will do really well for 80-90% of the job, and then they just disappear.
Right.
Right. So I know one guy right now is going through a contractor, and he paid him 2/3 already, and the guy hasn't done 2/3 of the work.
Yeah.
So now he's in a battle with a contractor, and what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to go sue him. Well, maybe you can.
Right.
You're going to go spend $30,000 suing someone to get $20,000. Just be cautious of that. But
right, and we've experienced that a little bit, right? So with our general contractor that we had, we even trusted him that he was going to come back and going to send his guys, and it like months went by and nothing happened. So really, how long do you give the contractors to make things right before you move on to the next guy?
Not long.
Not long.
And money's a motivator for them, so hold money back.
Yeah.
Right. So that you're always behind on the payments for them, right? So make sure you structure that up front.
Yes.
So no one's guessing.
Good.
Mortgage brokers, we'll talk a lot about that in step 10.
Okay.
Financing, but end of the day, you need a mortgage broker, in my opinion. You can go directly to a lender, but mortgage broker is going to give you a couple of things. They're going to shop around, find the best deal, for one, and they have more clout. They do more volume with lenders, right? So that's
Right.
the advantage to them. Engage them very early in the process before you submit your letter of intent, and they'll give you terms. So don't assume that you got terms 80%, for example, leverage in Dallas, that you're going to get that in Oklahoma City. You might, but there's also things called pre-review, and I won't go into all the details, but you need somebody. It's completely different.
Every deal, every state has different terms.
It does. And then the sponsors, who's leading the deal. Social media.
Yes, so why is social media important? It's important for your branding and marketing, which also ties in down here, right? It's also for relationship building. So even if all you're doing on social media is trying to engage with people who maybe are interested in investments, maybe selling brokers, mortgage brokers, they all tend to be on social media. So you really want to be strategic with your usage, specifically for social media with building your brand. You also want to be careful with what you post on social media. There are certain topics that we agree that you just don't comment on if you're trying to build a brand on social media.
Like
Politics. Religion and politics. Even if you agree one way or another with a religious topic or a political topic, it's best to stay neutral politically on social media.
It's your
business.
Yeah.
You can talk offline about your religion and political views. That's totally cool. But when it's going out on social media, we strongly recommend that you stay neutral, because you will lose business one way or the other.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with posting, let's say, something, a religious quote and things like that, but when you're getting into a banter with somebody about it, that's where the problems come up, and in my opinion, you're better off not getting in that banter with somebody.
Right.
So what's next?
Next is personal development. So that also goes and connects with education, right? So you never want to stop learning. You never stop learning until you're dead. So continue to grow personally, continue to grow with your education, continue to look at different ways that you can keep your life balanced, because it's not all about chasing the dollar in one topic, because we are multifaceted beings, right? So continue to develop yourself as a person and with your business.
Yeah, the balance is very important, which sometimes is hard to keep balanced, right?
It is hard.
The last one we didn't talk about was tax consultant, and I would say one is you have a tax consultant for the property as far as the finances, end of the year and things like that. You also have a tax consultant that will tell you from a property taxes. So every city, county is completely different. So don't assume that you have the rule of thumb, 85% of the purchase price times the mill rate. That could be completely different. So for example, in Memphis, they only do it every 4 years for new property taxes. That's something important to know.
Right.
So engage a property tax consultant early on that can give you a kind of a good faith estimate of what they think the property taxes are going to be, and ask them for 2 years. So if you're 8 months into the year and you close a deal, taxes for that year is going to be different than taxes for next year. So make sure you do that as well. But very, very important there on the tax side. So
great.
Hopefully you realize there's a lot to building your team, a lot of different components to it. The best and easiest way to do it, in my opinion, is to hook up with somebody that already has a team established.
Right.
It's the easiest, right?
That would be the easiest way, for sure.
So cool. So hopefully you got a lot of that, and we'll be going to step 3 here shortly.
Bye for now.
Bye.